I was tempted to leave all of you guys standing, but I'll... Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sego ani buju wacheya kwekwe. As the mayor of the city of Kingston, I offer these words in the spirit of this gathering. Let us bring our good minds and hearts together as one to honor and celebrate these traditional lands as a gathering place of the original peoples and their ancestors who were entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. It is with deep humility that we acknowledge and offer our gratitude for their contributions to this community, having respect for all as we share this space now and walk side by side into the future. So we were meeting in Committee of the Whole closed meeting. We did discuss one item related to labor relations or employee negotiations related to a corporate strategic planning update. We did not finish that discussion, so we will be going back into closed session just before the end of our open session meeting tonight. So with that, I will ask for a motion to rise without reporting.
Moved by Councillor Schell, second by Councillor Candon, that Council rise from the Committee of the Whole closed meeting without reporting.
Please vote. And that carries. Next, we will move to approval of the addeds. Now, we do have two sets of addeds, so we will approve both of them together if that's acceptable. Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Schell. On our first addeds, we have an additional report for the consent report, and then we also have a motion of congratulations, an additional delegation, and another report for the Administrative Policies Committee, and also an item of miscellaneous business. So with that, we will call the vote on the addeds. And that carries. Are there any disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Councillor Schell.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. I, Liz Schell of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of Clause C, Report 49, Municipal Support for the Kick and Push Festival, as I am on the executive of a volunteer organization that, though not involved in the festival this year, it was in the past and may be again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no other hands, we have no presentations tonight, but we do have a couple of delegations. First, Lilith Wyatt, Food Access Coordinator, Loving Spoonful, will appear before Council to speak to Clause 1 of Report number 52, received from the Arts, Recreation, and Community Policies Committee with respect to the Community Gardens Development and Operations Policy. And just a reminder that all of our delegations that you have 5 minutes.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. Good evening, Mayor Patterson, councillors, and staff. I am here on behalf of Loving Spoonful, who's recently entered into a partnership with the city, and excited to be speaking to the revised community gardens policy. At Loving Spoonful, our mission is to work toward a more food secure community in the Kingston area. And we see community gardens as integrating well into that, though gardens themselves aren't a standalone answer to food insecurity. They do improve upon health, on social isolation. They help build community. They build connection to food, food skills, and we see them as an entry point, an important entry point to the rest of the food security work that we do, and are proud to be a part of it. Just a couple words about the Kingston Community Garden Network as it stands. We've got 28 gardens across the city, and of those 12 are community gardens in the traditional sense, with allotments that members of the community can rent out, 8 of those are on municipal property. And there are at this time 5 additional groups beyond the existing 28 gardens who are organizing to try and create new community gardens around the city, which is really exciting to be able to support. In our most conservative estimates, there are at the very least 300 people involved, and those are individuals who are registered volunteers or plot renters. But the impact of those gardens no doubt radiates out in ripple effects much beyond that. And I thought I would say a couple words about the work that we're doing this year as part of our new agreement with the city to convene the Community Garden Network. So we've completely rebuilt the Community Garden Network website. It's at, and it will be launched by the end of the month. There's some technical thing going on that I don't actually understand. And that's at Kingston Community Gardens, plural.ca. So you can look for that launch coming up with a revised map, including the additional gardens. There's a 10 workshop series, the Summer Loving Food Series, that launches this Thursday, and it will run every other Thursday through till the end of September, so September 22nd. The workshops will all be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. and on a range of topics from backyard hens to growing your own mushrooms to starting a garden or gardening with kids. One of them's a farm tour. There are a couple about how to make use of your bounty from your own garden, smoothies, and pickling and preserving. So keep an eye out for that series. The posters are bright pink and all around town now. There'll also be a bike tour to just celebrate the vibrancy of the community gardens on August 6th, which is a Saturday, and we're in the midst of planning that right now, but I'm excited to be working with many of the gardens on that. And we're entering into different relationships to get discounted soil and compost, again, to just help make it easier for the gardens to do the work that they do. And in many other ways, supporting the existing gardens, especially those that face greater challenges than others, and supporting the new gardens to get started, and working closely with city staff on that. And lastly, just generally promoting, celebrating community gardens across the city and monitoring and reporting on the amazing work that they're doing so that we can learn from it and improve upon it. So I'm really just here to make a statement, a cheerleading statement of support. It's exciting to see the revised policy come before you, and Loving Spoonful is really happy to be in this relationship. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the delegation? Councillor Neal.
Yes. Are you familiar with the Toronto and Edmonton model? They've incorporated fruit trees, edible trees, and they have this wonderful harvest party at the end of every year, and a third of the food goes to food banks, a third of the food goes to the harvesters, and a third of the food gets sold at farmers market, and the proceeds go to more plantings. Are you familiar with that model? I think it's an excellent model.
I've heard of it before, but in the extent that you just described it, I don't know much more detail, but I think it's a great idea, and I will definitely look into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody? Yes, Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I'm just curious if you have any experience with like the current gardens or the ones that are in development as far as the potential for using them as a community space, like for activities other than gardening, and what that might look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things that I've seen other cities do really well with the portfolio of gardens held by organizations like ours is to do that, to use gardens as a very active and vibrant entry point to building community. I'm still getting to know the gardens in Kingston. There are some that seem to do that very well. I've visited Lakeside and Oak Street, and some of the ones that have been around for a bit longer, where the Calvin Park Community Garden too, though not on municipal land, has that same sort of feeling. But having not been around for a summer working with the gardens, I'm not sure. But I would love to see them as that, as hubs for the kind of community vibrancy and thinking more about how to use them as an entry point into other programs that Loving Spoonful runs in terms of food access and food skills, as well as other organizations. So yeah, thanks for the thought, and if you've got any specific ideas, let me know.
Councillor Allen, Deputy Mayor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, just you may not have this information with you here as you're here to celebrate the policy that we have in front of us, but something I think that council would be interested in is who's using our community gardens. Are we seeing newcomers to Kingston using our community gardens? Are they folks who have been here for a long time? Are they families, or are they folks who live in apartment buildings? That kind of information I would love to see come back to council in one of your future reports through the partnership that you have with the city. And so I guess I'm just asking if I can make that request.
Yeah, that's something I'm very interested in myself, and I'm happy to figure out ways to better monitor it. I don't have a comprehensive answer, but anecdotally can say that as the contact email on the website, many of the interests in new plots are expressed to me first before getting past to gardens, and I had 4 separate that were from recent Syrian families, 4 or 5 this spring alone. And upon visiting gardens, I met one family who the reason they gardened there was because they were in a small apartment and didn't have access to any larger space. And I think that it varies based on where the gardens are, as you might imagine. And one of the gardens that is trying to get created right now near the corner of Division Street and Counter by a very enthusiastic individual in particular. He expresses it in terms of health and very passionately. His girlfriend has diabetes. They can't afford as much good food as they want to eat. And he wants to be able to plant his garden yesterday so that he can grow good food to be able to eat for his family and teach the kids in the neighborhood too. That's sort of the other thing. So they're all walks of life. I mean, there's also the pollinator garden that really focuses on the environmental aspect, the aesthetic aspect, and the sort of ecological contributions. Some people come to it for the gardening, and some people come for the community, and sort of everywhere in between. But I'm happy to gather more information for a future report.
Thank you. So seeing no other questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next delegation this evening is Brett Christopher, Artistic Producer, Theatre Kingston, who will appear before council and speak to Clause C of report number 49 received from the CAO with respect to municipal support for the 2016 Kick and Push Festival.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship, Mayor Patterson, members of council, staff. Things never before attempted. My name is Brett Christopher. I have been a professional theater practitioner for 20 years, and for the last 5, I have been at the helm of an organization called Theatre Kingston. My goal as an actor and as a creator and as a director has always been to make an indelible experience for my audience. A one-of-a-kind moment that cannot be forgotten and that will teach or thrill or grow every person that takes part. That core value is the backbone of the Kick and Push Festival, a celebration of innovation in theater and the host of one-of-a-kind experiences for Kingstonians and visitors in the summertime. Last year, we dumped 300 ping pong balls into the audience at the Grand Theatre. We sold stage door tickets to those brave enough to hop up on stage and dance along with the chorus line. We took people on this solo adventure through the nooks and crannies backstage at the Grand, providing therapy sessions in the women's washroom and arguments with acrobats. So to give you a little background, In 2012, Theatre Kingston received $60,000 in funding from the Ontario Trillium Foundation to kickstart something called the Kingston Theatre Alliance, an entity that would be dedicated to bringing together the various organizations and individuals that practice theatre in this city. For the last 3 years, we've produced shows together, we've hosted master classes with national level artists, and we've started a cooperative dialogue that has spawned cross-marketing opportunities, sharing venues, offices, rehearsal space, human resources, all with an eye to building a bigger and a bolder theatre community in the city of Kingston. In late 2014, the city's Department of Cultural Services approached members of this Kingston Theatre Alliance with a request: devise an idea for the dark days of summer in the Grand Theatre. So for several months, a group of us met regularly, and eventually we conceived this thing called the Kick and Push Festival. Actually, it was originally called the Sphera Festival, but that didn't really stick. The Kick and Push Festival, whose name harkens back to Kingston's history, the Kingston and Pembroke line, and also speaks to the true nature of the artist as the innovator, as the survivor, and as the disruptor in society. With the support of the city, the Kingston Accommodation Partners, the Great Waterway, the BIA, and Tourism Kingston, the festival exploded onto the scene, filling the summertime with new and exciting theater experiences across the downtown core. This was last summer. From a tourism perspective, the festival was especially exciting for the 18 to 35, or the millennial markets, whose, shall I say, artistic consumption is less than traditional. They prefer, generally, a more visceral, a unique, an authentic, a homegrown artistic experience. From a community perspective, the festival provided opportunities for over 165 local, emerging, and professional artists, sold 4,500 tickets to over 130 events. That's in 30 days in the middle of the summer. It hosted 5 masterclasses, late-night panel talks, and in general, it brought a new artistic electricity to the city's summertime offerings. Feedback included comments like, "We loved Auto Show, it was creative, interesting, and fun, it was a daring and unusual production, completely unexpected, a refreshing change," and my favorite, which is, "I thought it was a fantastic way to experience this city." In summer 2016, coming up, the plans for this festival are very bigger and they're a bit badder. We're significantly increased the number of performances that we'll be doing. We've launched festival passes, and as many of you will know, we've already announced that we're adding a Fringe Festival component, 15 independent productions that will be hosted in empty storefronts up and down the blocks that have been impacted by the big dig on Princess Street. Well, the production specifics, I can't really say because our festival launches next week. I can tell you that this year there will be 182 performances over 28 days with over 8,000 tickets available. Not to mention the master classes, workshops, camps, and various pop-up disruptions that we've planned to other local events over the next few months. Alongside the festival, in order to train the next generation of theater makers in Kingston, the Kick and Push is working with the city's Rec and Leisure Department to host 9 weeks of summer camps in the Grand, where kids 6 to 12 will have the opportunity to learn from trained artists in a real bona fide theater setting. Our intention,
30 seconds.
thank you, is to fill the Grand. So what does the future hold for the KMP? Plans are percolating for 2017, where we bring in younger partners to provide daytime experiences, not to mention the opportunity of the KMP Trail's 150th anniversary, creating something fresh and cool for the trail itself. 2018, we're going to be working with tourism partners like the Fort, the Cruise Line, Trolleys, KP maybe, to create an ever-increasing number of unforgettable experiences for Kingstonians. In conclusion, cultural innovation is an important, if not an essential ingredient for a thriving community, and I ask you, as a council, to support the newest initiative to Kingston Summer Experience.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the delegation? Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
I'm mostly curious about the composition of the Kingston Theatre Alliance and whether you see growth with the membership there? That's the first question.
Yeah, the Kingston Theatre Alliance recently incorporated as a not-for-profit, and right now we're building a board and a mandate to basically wrap our arms around the entire theatre community. So as many companies want to be involved in that alliance, we will open our arms to them. Yeah.
Great, thanks. And secondly, in terms of I guess the past festival or upcoming festivals, can you give us some idea of the amount of fees? Let's say, how much is going towards staffing costs, for example, versus towards artists' fees? Is there a sustainable living to be made by doing this work throughout the summer for the artists involved in this festival?
As an artist, there's never a sustainable living to be made. But I can tell you that of the 6, there are 7 core projects in this year's festival coming up, and 6 of them will be remunerating their artists. The 7th will be a youth-based company that will be providing free workshops to the artists that are involved. In the past, last season, the core founding group were all volunteer. The people that conceived this and did the fundraising and did the development work and did the sort of core mandate work for both the Kingston Theatre Alliance and the festival were all volunteer-based. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Stroud, next on my list.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the presentation, Mr. Christopher. I just noticed, as well as the Kick and Push Festival last year, I also noticed this year several productions in the community in schools that compared to what I experienced as a child in the city, was very impressed by the ambition level of the schools that put on these productions. For example, where my kids go, they put on the musical Peter Pan, and this is a primary school, with all the songs, and they pulled it off. And also LaSalle put on a very successful production recently with a full orchestra and everything, that as well seemed very much more ambitious than what I had experienced in the past. And I'm wondering, do you feel like you should get some credit for that, for sort of leading the way with extremely ambitious projects as you're doing again this year?
My singular goal, personally, is to make Kingston a theatre town, a national reputation to be a theatre town. In much the way that the restaurants have exploded in the downtown core and we're now considered a foodie town and a restaurant town, I think that we have the critical mass of artists and organizations in the city to be considered a theatre town nationally. So that is my singular personal goal. And the Kick and Push is an element of that, certainly. Yeah.
Councillor Neal.
Yes, in a very recent past life, I was a drama teacher in Gananoque. And one of the wonderful things about that was Thousand Island Playhouse often papered their house with students from the programs that I taught. Will there be an opportunity for affordable or first time experience for youth to be able to see the shows?
That's a great question. One of the reasons that we brought in the Fringe Festival is that we've capped tickets at the Fringe to $8. There's actually Theatre for Young Audience productions within that, and I'm approaching sponsors now to underwrite the tickets to those specific productions so that they're $4 or under. And one of the things that the Kick and Push provides to the Fringe is that they cover the fees that the grant adds to the ticket price so that the buyers are capped at $8. That's the max you will pay for a ticket to the Fringe Festival, which is 15 productions. So, because certainly from my bent as a theater artist in this community, I am all about accessibility, right? I want people to see the work. I want every show to be filled with people, regardless of what they paid, frankly. So it's not a great revenue line, but to me it's
so
great
potentially a loony rush seat arrangement or something that would allow very low-income youth to be able to attend shows?
Yeah, the challenge of the Kick and Push is that the companies that are involved, we provide the infrastructure. Same with the Fringe. I provide the infrastructure. So I've gone and raised $30,000 in order to provide the box that these productions can produce. Then they take 100% of the box office. I don't take a dime from the box office. So it would require me to negotiate with those productions in order to provide comp tickets. But of course, all of them feel the same way. We're all like-minded as artists that we want our work to be received by people. We want people to come and see the work. Otherwise, there's no such thing as theater if there's no audience. So as you know, certainly that's one of the things that we can discuss with them to provide low-cost opportunities for people to see the work.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just have one question. So looking forward to the Fringe Festival, and you mentioned that there are 4 storefronts that you've picked on Princess Street in the area where the big dig is happening right now. Is that correct? Are you able to tell us which storefronts those are?
I can't. Those are currently in negotiation. I have 6 in the hopper, and we're just waiting until June 6th. And June 6th is the drop dead date for the landlords, because if they haven't got a tenant by that point, then they'll hand over the space. But each of the landlords, to speak to that, I spoke at the Landlord Development Committee at the BIA, and all of them stood up and said, we will provide this to you free because we believe in this project. We believe in the idea of drawing people downtown during the summertime. So
that's great. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we don't have any other delegations. We have no briefings. Are there any petitions to present tonight? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, can I see you for a moment? Okay, so moving on, we do have a couple of other under motions of congratulations, recognition, sympathy, condolences, and speedy recovery. First of all, a motion of speedy recovery moved by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Councillor Neal, that the thoughts and best wishes of Kingston City Council be extended to the people of Fort McMurray, Alberta, as they begin to recover and rebuild following devastating wildfires. Kingstonians who want to offer their assistance are encouraged to donate to the Red Cross Fort McMurray Fire Relief Fund. Motion of congratulations moved by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen, that the congratulations of Kingston City Council be extended to the Rogers K-Rock Center team on winning the 2016 Major Facility of the Year under 8,000 seats by the Canadian Music and Broadcast Industry Awards. This is the 7th time in 8 years the Rogers K-Rock Center has received this honor. And then also another motion of congratulations moved by Councillor Stroud, seconded by Mayor Patterson, that the congratulations of Kingston City Council be extended to Helen Finley, who will be celebrating a milestone birthday on May the 18th, 2016. Helen is well known and admired for her commitment to heritage in our community. Her many significant contributions span 50 years and include serving on the pioneering Committee for Architectural Review for the city, the restoration of 7 heritage buildings in Old Sydenham Ward with her husband, serving on the Heritage Properties Working Group, founding the Frontenac Heritage Foundation, and writing a multitude of published heritage themes articles. Thank you for all your continued contributions, and happy birthday, Helen. So with that, we will call the vote. And that carries. Now, I don't have a motion of congratulations for this, but I would like to recognize and welcome our new Deputy City Clerk, Janet Janes. Welcome, Janet, who's sitting in the hot seat around the Council Horseshoe tonight. So with that, we will jump into the real business of this evening. We have no deferred motions, so I will ask for report number 49 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Stroud, second by Councillor Holland, that report number 49 from the Chief Administrative Officer consent be received and adopted.
So there are 5 items, A through E. Would anyone like any separations? Okay, seeing Councillor Neal. So we are going to separate item C because Councillor Schell has declared a conflict. Councillor Neal.
Thank you. I was desperately looking to see which one the new Administrative Policies Committee one is 53. So I apologize. It isn't in this bundle.
So first we will vote then on the balance of the items. That would be A, B, D, and E. A is parking bylaw amendments, Princess, Clergy, Sydenham, and Montreal Streets reconstruction area. Item B, 2016 final tax levy and tax rates. Item D is the Kingston Ribfest and Craft Beer Festival 2016. And item E is partnerships between the City of Kingston, Correctional Service Canada, and St. Lawrence Park Commission temporary tours at Kingston Penitentiary. So we will call the vote. And that carries. Now we have item C. So Councillor Schell is stepping away. Item C is municipal support for the 2016 Kick and Push Festival. We'll call the vote. And that carries. On to report number 50 from Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. It's my pleasure to present report number 60 from the Planning Committee and ask that it be received and adopted. Thank you. Thanks.
Moved by Councillor Schell, second by Councillor Neal, that report number 50 from the Planning Committee be received and adopted.
So there's just the one item, commercial land review final report. We'll call the vote. And that carries. Report number 51 from Heritage Kingston. Who has report number 51?
Apologize, Your Worship. I rise to present report number 51 from Heritage Kingston. Duly moved and seconded. Ask that it be adopted by Council.
Moved by Councillor Stroud, second by Councillor Schell, that report number 51 from Heritage Kingston be received and adopted.
So there are three items. Seeing no separations, we'll vote on them as a whole. Please vote. And that carries. Report number 52 from the Arts, Recreation, and Community Policies Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's my pleasure to present report number 52 of the Arts, Recreation, and Community Policies Committee for consideration by Council.
Moved by Councillor Hutchison, second by Councillor Bohm, that report number 52 from the Arts, Recreation, and Community Policies Committee be received and adopted.
So there are two items. Item number one is Community Gardens Development and Operations Policy. Item number two, report on the progress of the Arts Advisory Committee for 2015 committee report card. So we will call the vote. And that carries. Report number 53 from the Administrative Policies Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's my pleasure to produce report number 53 from the Administrative Policies Committee, duly moved and seconded. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Bohm, second by Councillor Holland, that report number 53 from the Administrative Policies Committee be received and adopted.
So there is just the one item, waiver of fees policy. Councillor Neal.
Yes, I want desperately to be able to vote for this, so I have a couple of questions if I can. It's my understanding that if this passes and there's a very compelling reason for us to waive the fees for some very worthy cause, that a councillor could indeed bring forward a motion. It would need 2/3. But we could waive the fee in order to allow that to happen. Is that I'm looking to the clerk to advise us on that.
Mr. Clerk.
Through Mr. Mayor, it is not a bylaw, it is a policy, and the committee and council would have the opportunity to waive the rules to look for further funds.
And would it need 2/3 or a simple majority?
Through your worship, it would need 2/3.
Thank you very much. The other question I had, because there was, I think, such a compelling case, the last 2 years, a group called Hockey for the Homeless came forward, raised tens of thousands of dollars each year for a homeless shelter by hosting a student hockey tournament at Invista. And we waived the fee, but in fact, they willingly cut a check for the amount of the fee for Pro Kids, which is a very worthy cause that allows low-income youth to be able to participate in sports. If that, as would be anticipated, if that were to come forward next year, would that need 2/3, or would this be authorizing staff to be empowered to make that decision?
Commissioner Hurdle.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I think, first of all, I want to be clear that the intent of the policy is to try to get away from councillors having to bring motions every time there is an interest of waiving a fee. And also, as you know, you're probably aware, some members of the public may not know their councillors as well and may not feel as comfortable approaching their councillors. So this really opens the door to anyone in the community to be able to go through this process. And if you look at the policy, to Councillor Neal's question, if you look at section 4.4, the last bullet of the policy does enable staff to actually be able to waive the fees when it's a fundraising activity, an event where there's a portion of the funds raised that will be redirected back to the city for a service in the amount equivalent to the waiver, which would apply to Hockey for the Homeless.
You just won my vote. Thank you very much.
Mr. Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in response to that secondary question from Councilor Neal, it would be a simple majority. It actually would not be 2/3 because it is not a bylaw. Just to clarify that.
Thank you very much. You've won my vote as well.
Thank you. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, just I asked this at committee, and I asked it again because I think it is important that Council understands this before we move forward. And under section 4.5 in eligible activities, it indicates both an event or program that requires an admission fee and fundraising activities that benefit one or multiple organizations. So sometimes we've come forward with fundraisers that are for organizations or initiatives that an organization is taking place. Those would not be part of this policy. And so that's something that we need to make sure that we are aware of as we go forward. I think if staff could just comment on how they came to that decision, that would be helpful for council moving forward.
Commissioner Hurdle.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we did review a number of best practices across the province, and most of other municipalities don't actually fund fundraising activities. If you look as well at the eligible activity, we have identified that events or programs should be free of charge to make sure that people of all income levels can participate. Often fundraising activity will require some kind of donation or contribution, which could, in some cases, could prevent some individuals from being able to participate.
So just in my understanding of that is essentially we're trying to waive fees for things that make our spaces more accessible and more open, opening up our municipality and our municipal resources to groups and community groups with worthy causes. And so fundraisers and anything with a fee may actually present a barrier to that. And so I think I'm okay with supporting that, but it was something that did take some consideration when I saw it at the committee level, and I wanted to make sure that council was aware of it before we move forward.
Thank you. Councillor Hutchison.
I'm not quite what to say about this, but my main question was, how much do we spend currently on waiving fees for organizations?
Commissioner Hurdle.
Because it seems to me it doesn't come up that often.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we have actually pulled together some information in terms of, and keeping in mind, this is what council has waived, and recognizing that not all requests make it to council members. From a staff perspective, we are approached by a number of members in the community that don't necessarily pursue their request once they find out that they have to go through the whole formal process of having a councillor move a motion. So generally speaking, when we look at the type of events that we've had, I would say we've had probably around not quite $10,000 per year. But having said that, again, we know that that doesn't account for the requests that have not necessarily made it through council, but as staff we have received.
Fair enough. I don't really see any problem with the amounts here. So the organization about the homeless and hockey there, but there's others, they raise funds. So how is that different than fundraising activities that benefit one or multiple organizations? I'd really like to know rather than just guess what the difference is.
Commissioner Hurdle.
Okay.
So through you, Mayor, Section 4.4, the last bullet of that policy section on page 3 of 6 of Exhibit A, it speaks to fundraising activities where a portion of the fund that are raised will be redirected to the City of Kingston program or service in an amount equivalent to the waiver. So the difference is that this organization actually provides a donation back to the city, if you wish, and in this case, it's invested back into ProKids. And we're not saying that other organizations can't do that. We're saying that if they are going to do that, we would consider them.
And I'm not sure whether this is good or bad, so bear with me here. Will organizations that receive money through this policy on repeatedly, will they be open to or qualified for the exemption part in 4.6, or is that a set 3 organization and that's it?
Commissioner Hurdle.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we have set the 3 organizations in the policy that basically would be grandfathered, and those have been ongoing for, as you can see, many years. We have Cork, the Perch Derby, and the Agricultural Fair at the Memorial Center. So those have been happening for multiple years, and we are proposing that those events be grandfathered and not have to go through the policy and the request for a waiver fee.
Thank you. I will vote for this. Thanks.
Thank you. Seeing no other comment, we will call the vote. And that carries. Okay. So there is nothing from Committee of the Whole. We do have several information reports. If you have a question, just raise your hand as I read through them. Number 1, tender and contract awards subject to the established criteria for delegation of authority for the month of March 2016. Number 2, first quarter operating budget status report for 2016. Number 3, 2016 Q1 report on agreements executed under delegated approval and signing authority. Okay, we have no information reports from members of council. On to miscellaneous business. We do have a couple of motions. Number 1, that as requested by Partners for a Safe Community, council proclaim May 30th to June 5th, 2016 as Safe Kids Week in the City of Kingston, moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor George. Please vote. And that carries. Number 2, that as requested by VON Greater Kingston, council proclaim May 15th to the 21st, 2016 as VON Week in the City of Kingston. I have a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Turner. Please vote. And that carries. Number 3, that as requested by the Accessibility Committee, Council proclaim May 29th to June the 4th, 2016 as Kingston Access Awareness Week in the City of Kingston. Moved by Councillor Holland, seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. Please vote. And that carries. On to new motions, and for number 1, I will pass the chair over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. And so new motion number 1 is moved by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen, whereas Section 9.1 of the bylaw number 2010-1, Council Procedural Bylaw, as amended, states, meetings of council are held at City Hall and in the council chambers at 216 Ontario Street unless otherwise decided by resolution of council. And whereas in keeping with the City of Kingston's open government initiatives, it is desirable to engage citizens and provide community outreach by relocating periodically to off-site functional meeting space. Therefore, be it resolved that council waive bylaw number 2010-1, Council Procedural Bylaw, as amended, in order to hold the Tuesday, July 12th, 2016 council meeting in the TET Center for Creativity and Learning, Malting Tower, 370 King Street West, Kingston, commencing at 6:30 p.m. Mayor Patterson, would like to speak to this?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. For those of you that were on the previous council, you'll know that there was a period of time where there were renovations happening in council chambers, and so we took council on the road for a couple of months. We had a council meeting at Queen's University, at St. Lawrence College, at CFB Kingston, and at RMC, I believe. And it was a very interesting experience taking council out into the community, and I think that this gels very well with our efforts to open up the black box of municipal government and to engage our citizens. And so this is something that we are, of course, have already stated that at a strategic level we were going to try to do, say, once or twice a year. So I think that this is a great opportunity not only to take our council meeting out into the community, but also, of course, to showcase a great facility like the TET. So I certainly hope that there's support for this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Neal?
Yes, I support the intent of this motion. I think it also was a great experience. The only 2 mild reservations I have, one is how are we going to get word out publicly in a broad sense so we don't have people showing up here on an evening and finding out that it's not. And I would support doing this kind of on an annual basis somewhere within the city. But that brings up a complaint that I heard when we were at the base, or maybe it was RMC. If we go beyond public transit time, there are some people that get stranded at a council meeting or have to leave before the meeting is over. So if we could allow for that eventuality with maybe one last bus run to get people home would be helpful. So those logistics, I'm sure the mayor's office can work out, or our senior staff can work out. But those were the 2 concerns that were expressed to me.
Councillor Stroud?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I love the idea. I think, it's hard for me to say no to the jewel in Sydenham District of the city facilities. I just have a question for staff. Is the Juniper Cafe and its 2 taps of local craft beer open late enough for patrons of the council meeting to go downstairs to the patio that's just opened?
Commissioner Beach?
I will send that closing time to you, so it will give you an incentive to finish the council meeting.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Any other comments? Mr. Mayor, would you like to speak again? No? So we will call the vote. And that carries. And I will pass the chair back to you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to motion number 2, moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. Whereas an increasing number of motorists are planning to opt for electric vehicles and many communities are committing to a carbon-neutral future, and whereas the province of Quebec is amending their building code to incorporate 220-volt outputs in all new buildings and major renovations to accommodate charging stations, and whereas Kingston is committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, therefore be it resolved that the City of Kingston requests the Province of Ontario to adopt a similar building code amendment, and that Council directs staff to include language in the official plan to encourage builders to accommodate infrastructure that will support electric vehicles, and that this motion be shared with the Ontario Premier's Office, the Ontario Opposition Party leaders, the MOECC Minister, MPP of Kingston and the Islands, FCM, AMO, and all Ontario municipalities with populations greater than 50,000. Councillor Neal.
Yes, I'm going to speak very briefly because I think this is a very logical and simple request that we're making of the province. I do want to point out, because there was some confusion around this, taxpayers, the City of Kingston, will not be subsidizing private installations of charging stations. All that this does is what Quebec took the lead on this. Currently, the building code says that kitchens and laundry rooms have to have the 220-volt outlets, logically. In the future, as more and more people transition to electric cars, there'll be the expense of them setting up personal charging stations in their homes. And if we don't amend the building code, they'll have the additional electrician's cost of having a 220-volt outlet in their garage or accessible to their driveway. All this does is it says in the Ontario Building Code that with major renovations or with new buildings, they should, as they do with kitchens and laundry rooms, incorporate one of those outlets as a course of the building. So I think it's a logical way. We're hopeful, at least I am, that electric cars will be the way of the future. I believe that self-driving, autonomous electric vehicles will be on the market probably by 2030, and those kinds of initiatives will take us much closer to the target that many communities have set in Canada, which is to be carbon neutral by the year 2050. And the survival of our world, I think, depends on that initiative. And this is one tiny step towards achieving that. So I would hope that everybody's able to support this motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. And just briefly, I also want to share why I supported this motion when Councillor Neal brought it forward. And that's because as we've been going through this official plan process and we've been looking at finding ways to incentivize or create opportunities for our builders to build more sustainably, to innovate in their building approaches, one of the things that comes up time and time again is we can't really make these adjustments in the official plan or in the directions that we're trying to do if the Ontario Building Code is pitted against it. And so this is one small move that we can ask the Ontario government to do to start moving the building code towards more sustainable buildings, more innovation in how we build, and having more options for building buildings of the future. Because right now our code is heavily outdated and needs to be brought up to standards. And there are incredibly good reasons why we have the standards in the building code, but we do need to have some flexibility in it to be able to start building for a more sustainable future. And so this is one starting way that isn't hard for the government to open it up and start taking a look. And so that's why I support this.
Thank you. Councillor Stroud.
Thanks, Your Worship. I will support this motion, and I think perhaps it doesn't go far enough to encourage adapting to the new realities that we will all face. I just want to point out that the Ontario government did announce recently sweeping changes to regulations in favor of sustainable energy sources. So by the time they receive our motion, if this passes, it may be encouraging them to go the same direction that they're already going. Not that that matters, but I think that we maybe need to flesh out that first clause, well, the second clause that we're doing ourselves here in Kingston about the official plan to more specifically to flesh out that language a little bit more to reach the desired intent. And so perhaps when staff receives this, if it passes, we'll be able to see if that's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will call the vote. And that carries. Are there any notices of motion? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, I ask for minutes.
Moved by Councillor Hutchison, second by Councillor George, that the minutes of City Council meeting number 2016-14 held Tuesday, May 3rd, 2016 be confirmed.
Please vote. And that carries. Some tabling of documents and number of communications. Is there any other business? Okay, seeing none, I will ask for a motion to move into Committee of the Whole closed meeting. So moved by Councillor Candon, seconded by Councillor Bone. Please vote. And that carries. Thank you.